Good evening and welcome. My name is Taylor Kingman, and as president of the Board of Trustees of the San Angelo Independent School District, I would like to welcome all of you who are present at tonight's regular board meeting. I also welcome all of those who are watching the recording of this meeting online or on our public access channel. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of SAISD. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most, if not all, items on our agenda this evening have been previously discussed at our earlier pre-agenda board workshop. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, we have a public comment item on every one of our meeting agendas that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team on an item on our action agenda or not on our action agenda an opportunity to do so. Please provide your name and contact information and the specific topic you wish to address on a public comment form located at the back of the room, should you want to speak on an issue this evening. Please listen carefully and comply with the following rules so that we can move through this part of the meeting efficiently. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes. The district will provide an official timekeeper. The district's timekeeper will report and record the time. You will be notified when your time is up and you are to stop speaking and return to your seat. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time, and comments on any subject, whether positive or negative, must be courteous and respectful. Comments are limited to the specific topic you indicated on the form you filled out. Any speaker with a specific complaint about a district employee, decision, or operational issue should present that complaint through the appropriate mechanism, which is the district's formal grievance process. If you have a pending grievance being processed by the district, you will not be permitted to speak about this during public comment. Also, please understand, if you speak to us on an item not on our action agenda, that the board cannot reply to you except to thank you for your comments, since the matter has not been posted for discussion. In compliance with state law, these proceedings are recorded and will become part of SAISD's permanent legal record. In order that the recording will adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Again, thank you for being here and for your support of SAISD. We do have a quorum. Ms. Arroyo is on her way and will be joining us shortly. With that, we're going to move forward with our agenda. And we have our invocation from Cole Calloway. He's associate pastor at College Hills Baptist Church. Thank you for being here.
Would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much that you are a good, gracious God. Lord, we thank you that though you are the master and king of the universe, you hear us at this moment, and you are here. Lord, we lift up this meeting to you, Lord. I lift up all of the board members to you. I lift up teachers and students and families in this district. Lord, that you would love them and that you would show them your grace. Lord, that you would show yourself as kind and wonderful to them. Lord, I also pray that you would help us in our weaknesses, Lord, that you would give us hearts of graciousness towards one another. Father, I pray that you would bless the remainder of this meeting, and may it be glorifying to your name in Christ Jesus. Amen.
All right. If everyone would please stand, I will lead us in our pledges. All right. Thank you all. All right. we are going to move forward with our recognitions. And Soon Child is going to come up and start with recognition of the Media Honor Roll. And thank you all for everyone for being here this evening.
Good evening, Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board. The annual TASB, Texas Association of School Boards, Media Honor Roll is an opportunity to recognize our media partners for their dedicated service to our students, their families, our stakeholders, and the school district. San Angelo ISD values the indispensable partnership we have with our local media. The public being informed of important district-related news is fundamental, and our local media does an excellent job in helping us accomplish that. Through their continued news coverage of the school district, our media partners help us not only communicate important district-related information, but they also help us share the successes of our students, faculty, and district with the public. The public should be aware of the great things that our students and faculty accomplish, helping the district recognize student achievements is beneficial for everyone involved: the student group, their families, their school, and the district. We thank all of our local media for their continued collaboration and support in communicating information with our stakeholders. Tonight, we honor members of the local media who have been invaluable partners with San Angelo ISD over the past year. If you'll direct your attention to the monitors, you'll see our wonderful media partners. These distinguished honorees routinely show that they understand they have the power to shape community attitudes about public schools, a responsibility they take very seriously. At this time, we invite all our honorees in attendance to come accept their certificates and gather for a group photo with Dr. Moran. Please join SAISD in congratulating our Media Honor Roll recipients for their service to our community and to the profession of journalism. Congratulations. Araceli Gutierrez, Caleb McGuire, Damian Bartonek, Mr. Fred Key, Linda Thorson Bond, Lucas Banda, Jim Sanchez, that's Lucas Banda, Randall Case, Rick Andrews, Rick Mantooth, and Sandy Rojas. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. I was trying to watch as people were walking in.
Did we miss anyone?
I think we're good.
Well, you're the media folks, so probably 2 rows. Yes, you did. All in the back.
All right, we are going to move forward with our recognitions, and we're going to do recognition of Central High School speech and debate. We appreciate all the students being here in the summer for this recognition, because I know y'all's competitions go late into the June, so thank y'all for being here.
Well, good evening, board members and Dr. Moran. It's my pleasure to celebrate and introduce Central High School speech and debate team. And like Dr. Keeman said, they're not all here because it's summer. So let me, guys, if you'll raise your hand or step forward when I call your name. We have, first of all, Coach Evers, Kobe Evers. And then we have Sophia Scott, Cooper Coyer, Elizabeth Havens, Isabella Arroyo, and Vivian Pfluger. So if you know anything about our famous speech and debate team, they have many accolades. So we made a quick PowerPoint just so y'all can have some pictures of what they've done. Their season lasts from August to June, and they compete almost every single weekend. They have over 100 people that are part of their team, and you can see right here, this is one of their competitions. They had the third most qualifiers in the entire state. And then here's their state tournament. I'll let you read for just a minute all the good things that they did. We put the highlights up there. They got 4th place overall. Here's some more pictures. You can just see the excitement and joy. Guys, they're fantastic. If you ever get a chance to go, they also have a showcase that they do. If you get a chance to go, you need to go. Here's the UIL competition. We had 3 make finals, which is a big deal at a 6A state, right? We have Grace Valdez, and I can't read that because I'm blind. Is that 8th? Oh, right here. Thank you so much. So Belle was 6th and Sam was 11th. They are district champs and region champs. And of course, Belle Royer, who is, let's see, 2 times, right? You won state, or I know nationals. Okay, so poetry state champion. That's Bill right there. All right, some more pictures. And here's some individual events. They got 5th in the nation. Sophia Scott, you're here for that. You're up there. More pictures. And our national results. So they just got back from nationals. So they were in the top 1% in the nation. Top 20 School of Excellence in Speech out of 2,000 schools. We had 7 students break into next rounds for their events, and we had multiple quarterfinalists and semifinalists and a finalist. Here's our national results. So we had the national runner-up standing in this room right here for oral interp. So, guys, we are really proud of you guys in your program. CHS has obviously a long-standing tradition of excellence, and they are known as the powerhouse in our state and nation. Speech and debate fosters transferable skills and experiences with people and communications that lead to success in any career field, especially our CHS team and Coach Evers. Guys, you guys are awesome. Congrats.
This is, I said, the best dressed group of students to come to the board meeting to be recognized all year long.
All right. Moving forward, we're going to move forward with public comments. And Mr. Virgil Passetti, on the topic of budget.
Hello, my name is Virgil Passetti, concerned dad. As you know, I've been saying for 2 years that when the ESSER money run out, that we were going to have to face the facts, and so it's run out. And despite only having a 1% loss in enrollment, I've seen that we're going to have to take a 10% cut in services to the kids. I'm guessing. I haven't been able to see the budget, so. You know, that's concerning, 10% off the budget, so a lot less for the kids. And that just gets us to zero. No, we don't have anything for the teachers or the staff? We didn't see this coming? I mean, for the last 2 years, was I just crying wolf? Y'all didn't think maybe we should put something back for this day that was coming, you know? And, you know, last week or the week before, you know, y'all were saying, you know, we should give 3%, and now it's changed to we'll do best what's for human capital and the budget. Is that what we've taken the staff down to now? They're just human capital. You know, everybody's out there struggling. You know, a lot of us don't make a ton of money, including myself. And, you know, when I go to the grocery store, if I was only having to pay 3% extra for groceries, I'd be a happy man. But unfortunately, in some cases, it's double. And now I hear last week, yeah, there's inflation. We probably should give them something. Is that what we boiled down to? Just give them some breadcrumbs or something? So if I'm truly crying wolf, then show me a balanced budget where I don't have to cut 10% for the kids, and you can give teachers a 3% raise, which isn't a lot of money. That's not even cost of living. And if you can't do that, then I guess I wasn't crying wolf this whole time. And hopefully in the future, instead of being so tone deaf, that you'll actually listen to people and maybe have a town hall meeting. Maybe sit down with us. You know, I know you think that we're not that smart and we're not to your level, and you know, you got elected, so that makes you better than everybody, but some of us do have good ideas, and some of us know how to look at budgets. So I guess tonight, if you pass a balanced budget with no reduction to the kids and 3% to the parents, then I'll admit that I cried wolf. But other than that, in the future, please listen. We care about our kids just as much as you should. And we also care about the teachers. So if nothing else, please, in the future, just listen a little bit.
Thank you. All right, moving forward with our agenda, we're actually going to go into executive session under Personnel Matters 551.074, and then we're going to come back and continue with our regular agenda. All right, we are back from executive session. We took no action and made no votes. So we're going to move forward with our regular agenda. Item 6, which is information updates. We're going to start with Dr. Brandon for a budget update.
Good evening, Dr. Moran, Dr. Kingman, Board of Trustees. Want to just kind of go in and do a quick budget update with some numbers that have been updated from the CAD, from the Tom Green County Appraisal District, and look at some of that information, just the timeline as a whole to finish up the budget to set the tax rate. I do want to start with a brag for the finance department. I know Mr. Guerrero is here this evening. So the district this past week received word from the comptroller, the state comptroller's office, and received both the Transparency Star Award for finance and the Transparency Star Award for our interest in seeking information that's on the website. So just a reminder, I appreciate the work from the finance team. It takes the whole team purchasing, everything that comes through. I mean, to achieve something like that. And so I know they go above and beyond. I mean, you can go on the website and see anything in the district financially. You can see every check that goes out, every deposit. The balance sheet is there. We started the year at approximately $80 million. That's from the board having the foresight of what was going to happen through ESSER and to supplant some of that money along the way. That was certainly the advice of the governor right off the bat, from the commissioner of education. Be ready, right? Be ready 3 years from now, and that's exactly what the Board of Trustees did in supplanting those funds. So the year started at $80 million. We have 2 building projects going on right now at McGill and Fannin to be able to move students together to be efficient. Those 2 projects are $20 million. So as we move to next school year, our hope being that we will start that school year with $60 million in general fund. The advice from TASBO is to keep a minimum of 3 months in reserve. The district spends, it's a large district, right, with 13,000 students and 1,800 plus employees. The budget is about $10 million a month. So 6 months of operating is $60 million. So we meet the 3-month threshold to be good stewards of taxpayer money. So we appreciate the board and the work that you've done over the last 3 years to make that possible. As we go into looking at the budget, we've talked about different ways that revenue is generated. We know, looking at the budget, that we had about a $1 million cut in revenue. So at the same time, we had to find a way to cut $1 million in expenses. Those expenses were not cut from any student initiatives. The budgets that went out to principals went out way ahead of time, and the cuts that were made were asked by program directors, facilities, maintenance, HR. Most of that came in the form of software. We found some ways that we could save some money in different software programs. Some of that is in technology, not making updates just yet, and pushing that for another year or two until we could do that. And then one of the ways, the district normally budgets 100% of the insurance that's paid each year, and then historically, approximately 80 to 82% of the employees take the insurance. So there was an amount of money that was left each year from that. So we tried to be conservative. We estimated that at 88%. So if 88% of the employees take the insurance, which would be 6-7% over what's happened over the last 5 years, that would still be covered. But what that allowed us to do is to move the money over so that we could fund an insurance option where we have a free option for every employee. So our compensation plan that you'll see this evening is an ask to the board to grant $59 a month toward the employee insurance so that would be covered. So our employees that have the option to have a free plan will stay in place. And if any other plan that you have, that would increase by $720 a year. That $60 a month would go toward any plan that you choose. So that will be on the compensation plan as we get to that point. We're seeing good news in property values. The July 11 estimate from the CAD now has us at $7.14 billion. You see on the screen that last year we were at $7.2 billion. So we're excited, right, about that. As you look at our proposed budget, we're still refining that. We'll go into August with the budget to be looked at by the Board of Trustees, and that will be looked at by department across the district. And as you look at those budgets, they're back for 3 years. And so the board could see exactly what was spent 3 years ago, last year, this year, where we're at, and then what that proposed budget is going into the next year. So in depth in every one of the budgets to see where we would be. And then you can see for our general fund, the balanced budget at 127 million. As we look at our debt service, you see that 11.11741, just over 11 cents, almost 12 cents. And then what we generate in prior year's taxes, then our actual bond payment, $8,200,000, projected collection, just over almost 10 million. And the reason that we have that is the hold harmless from state revenue. If you consider, and I think it'd probably be better explained when we look at our CAD values, our property values. So this is what we had when it was the $40,000 homestead exemption and then the $100,000. And what you see happen to the property values, and I'll blow this up so you can see the bottom of it better. So on the left, the 40,000 taxable values, our property values are $8 billion. On the left side, $8.2 billion. And then when the state moved that to $100,000 homestead exemption, then you can see that it's $7.2 billion for the district. Well, that $1 billion, what the state has agreed to do is to, let me go back one, hold harmless the district, right? We have payments that have to be made. It wasn't our fault, right, that the property values were going to be set back. And this is across the state of Texas. So that additional $1 billion in property value is still realized, and the state has sent money for the 1.6 million to cover that. Now, with that said, we can use that towards paying down the bond early, saving interest in the district for the taxpayers. And so we have some options that we can look at now, knowing that that hold harmless money is available. This is the first time that we've received the money. Our hope certainly is that continues with the state. Right now, the state has the money to fund that, and our hope will be that that continues. If we look at the historical rate across the school district, if you look back 10 years to 2014, 2015, the tax rate of $1.24, and then you see how that tax rate has fallen to this current school year at 81 cents. So 40 plus cents savings over the last 10 years on the tax rate overall. And then the M&O tax compression, our maintenance on operations, 0.6949. And then we add to that our 0.11741, and then it rounded here in the graph at 12 cents. That has remained consistent in making those payments to pay the bond back. Just an update on the calendar. Our last day to receive final property values, we do have an expectation that that might slightly go up again, so I think we may even realize where we were last year, possibly a little bit more. August 5th, by August 5th, TEA will send out maximum compressed rates, and then as we go into the week of August 5th through 8th, we'll be able to set the tax rate. We'll know a better idea of exactly where that will be, if there will be any more compression, and then we will publish that August 9th, and then August 19th would be the regular board meeting with a public hearing to set the tax rate. Any questions?
Just from a clarification, when we increase that $59 more for health insurance over our 1,800 employees, what is that costing the district?
It's approximately 1.3 million. And that has been in the balanced budget, that is paid for.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Brandon? Obviously, we have compensation plan and some other things later in the agenda this evening. All right, thank you for that update. Busy couple weeks coming up. Speaking of a busy couple weeks, we're going to move forward with our construction update. Mr. Henry.
Thank you all for having me here tonight. I want to introduce our engineer Alan Wolf with Park Hill Architects, and he's going to discuss our 3 major projects.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. President Kingman, Dr. Moran, members of the board, thank you again for having us out. Wanted to go through, as if you've been by any of the 3 construction sites, I think you've seen quite a bit of activity here in the last, well, since I was here last month. I wanted to start with McGill. Oh, thank you. I was going to start with McGill. I'm sure you've seen there's been masonry work going on there. They have completed that. We are now grading the site, which is exciting. It's going to really start to take shape. Continuing to do the interior operations, getting the painting done, the tile work done. The mill work is on site. It's been acclimated, and so they've begun installation of that. I'm going to show you just a few pictures. Ceiling grid's going well. This is some of that work that's happening on site now, so you're really going to start to see the driveways take shape. Here's some of that interior work. The picture on the left is the new dining area and cafeteria, so it's really going to be, I'm so excited for the kids to be able to use that in such a bright and cheerful place. And here's just some of the update on the drywall. You can see all the windows are in now, and they're making great progress there. I wanted to talk about Fannin. I know that of the projects that we talked about last time, it's really made a lot of strides in the last few weeks, and I appreciate the contractors working so hard and all the subcontractors as well. So you may have noticed last week, and I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for the rain, very thankful for you all, but even more thankful that the paving was done last week, so we don't have to redo the base. So really excited about that. Was out today. There are a ton of subcontractors out there. The electrician's been doing a great job of staying ahead of as far as he can of the painter. And you'll see some pictures here in just a second, but basically today they're painting the collaboration area where the kids are going to be able to do project-based learning and work in teams and do pull-out activities. It's really going to be awesome. So they've primed it. They put the first coat of paint on today in there, and so the classrooms all have at least 1 coat of paints. They're moving their way from north to south with the 2nd coat, and so really excited about that. All the plumbing fixtures are on site. The tile is in. It just has to be grouted now. So I'll show you a few pictures of that, but here's some of the paving operations. We're excited. So a couple of really important things have happened. All of our above ceiling inspections have been completed and passed. The fire alarm has also been tested and passed. So that's great news. We have an accessible route. We have a working fire alarm. We have all the air conditioning and so forth have been going. The millwork's been acclimated. So we have it's just been really exciting last few weeks. Expect to get a final certificate of occupancy right around the 1st of August. So into the month. So here's some pictures of the inside. You can see one of the things that the contractor did, he went ahead, the electrician and the acoustical ceiling, went ahead and put the grid in. So as soon as the flooring's down, they can, what we would call pad out, get their acoustical ceiling in. So that's great. All the electrical plugs are in, all the lights are in and working, and it's really nice. There's some of the tile work there. So Sousa also, that one's really, I think when we were visiting last time, I said, oh, the classrooms are looking good. Hopefully we can get all the restrooms done. They have really made great progress working through that one as well. And so right now they're trying to get the lighting finished up, being hooked up with the ceiling grid. But you'll see here in a second, we've got all the tile works done. The fixtures are going in. So just trying to get all the floor floated so we can get the final finished flooring materials in. But this just, again, I think I showed this floor plan the last time. This is kind of the way it looked last week, end of the week. So you can see we're getting closer to the light. Some of the lights are in. There's the tile work I was talking about, so really neat looking. And so progressing well there. And again, that one's the one I think the final they're shooting for a final CO on the 1st, and Fannon's the end of 30th or 31st. So we have a construction meeting there Wednesday. So we'll have more hard dates on those certificate of occupancy dates. Any questions I can answer for you all? And you'll be seeing a lot of activity still the next couple weeks to get ready for the kiddos.
Any board questions for Mr. Wolf? Thank you all. We're glad that we're on time and we're cutting as close as we can, but
Right,
we're
yeah.
gonna get it done. So appreciate that. And looking forward to all the hard work everyone is gonna have to do in the district to get those next 2 weeks done, but thank you all for that in advance as well.
Yeah,
So-
I would like to point out, I've had a ton of support from Dr. Brandon and Mr. Henry and Mr. Kennedy and AJ and all the folks in the facilities department. So appreciate them for helping us facilitate this.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna move forward with our agenda. We have consent items A through G. We have donations. We have some San Angelo Reads and Capturing Kids' Hearts, and the Kiwanis Club donations. We have our minutes from our June 3rd, June 17th, and June 24th meeting, pre-agenda meeting, regular meeting, and board training. We have our approval of our quarterly investment report ending May 31st, 2024. We have considered the extracurricular status of the 4-H organization and adjunct faculty agreement of Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, Tom Green County. We have the 24-25 waiver for optional flexible school day program, our pays are preparing area youth for success. We have bid 24-008, which is athletic supply. Bid 20-014, which is curriculum and instruction materials. Do I have any board comments on consent items A through G? That's later, right? Oh, this one as well. Okay. 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 Or we can, okay, we'll just do that. We'll accuse and can do the rest.
You just can't vote.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve consent items A through G?
I'll move for approval of consent items A through G.
So I have a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second? So a second from Mrs. Duncan. Any other board questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. And just make note that Mr. Gallegos abstained. All right, you mind grabbing him? We're going to move forward with item 8, which is consider bills, accounts, and financial statements for May 24 and June 24. Any board comments?
Dr. Kingman, move for approval of the bills, accounts, financial statements for May 24 and June 2024. And as a side note, all these reports are reviewed in our pre-agenda meeting in depth. In addition to that, all these reports that you can view online at our website, SASD, under the district tab. There's a tab below that that's called Financial Transparency. All these reports can be found online at that tab on our website.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Gallegos. Any other board questions or comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right, next is page 104, consider proposed amendment of the district official budget to our general fund. And this is an increase in expenditures from fund balance to general fund to cover building projects. Any board questions or comments on this one? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to proceed with the recommendation of approval of the general fund budget amendment for July 2024 which results in no monetary differences and no increase, and an increase in expenditures in the amount of $7,370,315.
So I have a motion from Dr. Mills. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Dindal. Any other board questions or comments?
Dr. Kingman, just as a matter of note, we're transferring $6 million into our regular budget to cover the expenses that we're paying out for the McGill and the Fannin projects.
Yeah, sorry, the rest was the renewal of the buses that
Yes, sir.
came through.
Bulk of it,
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion from Dr. Mills and a second from Mr. Dindal. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. So now we have consider resolution of tax calculations. Dr. Brandon?
Good evening again. Each year, we choose who would be the individual to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, and that being our tax assessor at CAD. And so we have what you find is the resolution identifying that individual district's tax assessor as individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, this is something we have to do every year as far as the no new revenue tax rate.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Dr. Brandon? All right, do I have a motion? Someone's gonna make one. I'll make a motion. So to approve a resolution designating the district tax assessor as the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and the other truth in taxation requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna get 2 seconds, but I'm gonna give it to Ms. Flint. So we're gonna get a motion from myself, Kingman, and a second from Mrs. Mizell Flint. Any other board comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0. Dr. Brandon, you get to stay up there, and we're gonna talk about approving the sale of city property.
As you see in the resolution, the property is identified as unimproved property at 1918 Hudson. It did go up for sheriff's auction with no bids. After that was removed, then it went to the city. The city did receive an offer on the property. And then for that to actually be resolved, each of the taxing entities have to approve of that sale. So tonight for the board meeting is simply approving the resolution authorizing the tax resale of 1918 Hudson Street by San Angelo, Texas, by the city of San Angelo as presented. It's already been approved by the city of San Angelo, just awaiting for the Board of Trustees to pass the resolution as well. The good thing is it puts it back on the tax roll instead of vacant property.
Any questions for Dr. Brandon on this?
Yeah, Dr. Brandon, pre-COVID, we used to see these probably on a regular basis during our school board year, 7, 8, or 9 a year, so it's nothing really unusual. It's just trying to put the property back into a taxable basis that everybody benefits from. So with that, I would move to approve the resolution authorizing the tax resale of 1918 Hudson Street, San Angelo, Texas by the city of San Angelo as presented.
Second.
So I have a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any other board comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right, the next is consider authorize superintendent to negotiate purchase of real property. And Dr. Moran, are you giving us the update on this, or is Dr. Brandon?
I'll be glad to make a comment. So we talked to the board last week about a property near Fort Concho that we considered as a possibility for the board to look at for parking. As we talked to the city and fleshed out the facts, there were some zoning restrictions plus the requirements of having to construct the parking lot in a manner that we felt was excessive in cost. So our recommendation to the board is to take no action on this and not to pursue this property.
Any board comments? So obviously this was on our agenda last week. As everyone knows, we can't talk about it without it being on our agenda, so we had to talk about it and think about it. Appreciate the work y'all are doing Any other board comments or questions?
I was just going to say that last week we asked Dr. Brandon to go back and bring us information from the city, and I appreciate you doing that. And because we as a board cannot make good decisions without good information, and you brought us good information, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, you know, when we started the project, a lot of people aren't aware, we actually have a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with Rush Street Ministries, and to keep us in code compliance for Fort Concho Elementary with the building that it has on site, we have 16 parking spaces that are part of that MOU. So in the future, not knowing what might happen to that property, it could put us in jeopardy. So, you know, that was certainly an option that would help, but after you add in all of the city requirements on spacing, what we wanted to realize of 24 parking spaces would be cut back to only 12. So at that point, we couldn't solve the MOU situation, and so we appreciate your consideration on it, but it's not going to work out.
All right, so any other board questions or comments? So unless someone feels differently than the recommendation from admin, we're going to move forward unless, okay. So next is Dr. Skelton's going to come consider our compensation plan for our 24-25 school year.
Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, members of the board, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come recommend some options for y'all for the compensation plan. Last week, we gave you a draft of the pay scales and for you to look at. A lot of those, the changes in that were titles. As we reduced staff and through attrition, we combined some roles and made new roles within that. So you would see new titles and things like that. But for the most part, the pay structures stayed the same, and you'll notice that. As we come in, per policy DEA, the board sets to approve the pay structures and the compensation plan for all district employees. And so as we come up to make this recommendation, we ask you to consider a couple of things. First, consider the future compensation changes in response to increased compensation threshold for overtime eligibility through the Department of Labor. That's one thing. As we know, the Department of Labor makes changes that also affects us. So we know that changes are coming, and they come quite often. So this is just an opportunity for us to make changes throughout the year, but that when we present the compensation plan, you guys know about it. The second thing is to consider an increase in the district's health insurance contribution from $420 a month per employee to $479, like Dr. Brandon talked about. They were able to increase that $59 for every employee. That's a huge compensation piece. When we talk to potential employees, that's over $5,700 in their compensation package that, yes, they don't see in their pockets, but they get health insurance for free. And so when we offer jobs, we say, here's what you're going to receive, and then you add this your total compensation is $5,700 more than what you bring home in your paycheck, but that includes insurance. And the last thing is to consider an increase in compensation for all eligible and returning employees through the midpoint general pay increase or through a retention incentive stipend. And so we know that y'all spent quite a bit of time discussing and looking at the compensation plan over the week. We appreciate that. And so as a recommendation, we present that to you. Do you have any questions?
Dr. Skelton, just as a point of reference, the increase in the health insurance plan of $59 a month equates to a real cost of about $1.2 million per year going forward for the business of looking after our employees in a good way and giving them a free health care option.
Correct.
I know that's been one of the mantras of the district for quite a while, is to make sure that we offer a plan that doesn't cost the teacher anything or the employee anything. And so I'm not sure that $59 a month doesn't sound like much, but it becomes a $1.2 million sustainable expense for the for the folks in our district, which we have been prepared in the past to take on for sure.
Correct. And also for the hourly employees, we've calculated that out to about a $3.75 raise an hour. If, go ahead.
Healthcare is huge in this day and time, and if we can offer a plan.
It is.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
Other board comments or questions? So, obviously, when we're looking at our budget, revenue is flat to down over this year compared to a year prior. We do have increased expenditures with health insurance, inflation, et cetera. We're blessed in the fact that in some of our school consolidations, we are able to save money and actually provide improved programs for children at those new campuses, just due to the fact that they were able to put assistant principals on every campus and things along those lines, and the support we're able to give with a little bit larger campuses. But we're able to do those things, but the reality is our revenue is the same as it was a year ago. And so trying to figure out how to balance the fact that we have a flat revenue, but we want to try and provide more for our teachers and students and everything we can. We have to look at that as a board and where we can do that. Obviously, 70%, 65 to 70% of districts in the state are adopting deficit budgets in an attempt to just assuming someone's going to come in and save them, but also possibly putting their district in a situation that where a year from now, depending on what, then all of a sudden they're in back to 2012, where all of a sudden we're not able to keep the employees that we have because the state legislature does not come through. And so as a board, it's very important that we look at not only what it's going to do to this year, but what it's going to do to next year, and that we can maintain the ability to employ all of our employees, even if the state legislature does not change allotment. There's been a lot of rumor about that, but that rumor unfortunately has been going on for a while now. Any other board questions?
So just to kind of clarify, we would be potentially voting to approve the increase to cover the insurance, but we're sort of deferring the salary raises discussion for a later time. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. The compensation plan is all approved together. Now the health insurance increase is within the balanced budget, so that can be put together, but you guys can make decisions on something separate. Y'all can table that, have a discussion, make those separate, but yeah, that's where you stand.
Well, and there'll be a notation in the compensation plan for the board to be able to increase that. Doesn't have to be tonight, but you will still have the option to increase that either through a midpoint percentage raise or through an incentive stipend like we've been doing over the last couple of years. So the board, to your point, yes, the board still will be able to come back and increase that after this evening.
Thank you.
So Dr. Mills, just to clarify, because I want to make sure I understand as well, I think, so if we adopt a compensation plan that says that if state legislature or a TRE, any of those things happened, that we could then give a midpoint raise. If we adopt that now, then we're able to do that in the future.
That is correct.
Yeah, either raise or stipend.
I'm just going to say this because I promised some of my fellow educators that I would. I've received lots of calls and comments about the health care and the $59, and they were unaware if we were going to be able to cover that or not. And because we are, they wanted me for sure to pass along how much that means to them, because for some that would have been half of what they pay for an already adjusted daycare. So I promised them that I would tell you how grateful they are for that.
Can I make a comment? I'd just like to thank Merle and Dr. Brandon and Dr. Skelton for their work with their departments as they really try to work through the process of giving the board the opportunity to adopt a balanced budget, while at the same time offer the board the opportunity to, at some point, either earlier or midpoint or both, provide meaningful pay increases to our employees. And we see that there's a path to doing that. The next few weeks will help flesh out some of that as we receive information about revenues from the state and our compressed tax rate and all of those things. But I'd like to publicly say thank you to the two of you and your departments for getting us to this point.
All right. Any other board questions or comments? All right. So I need a motion.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-25 compensation plan as presented, with the stipulation that if adequate additional revenue is made available to the district through legislative action or board and voter approval of a called TRE, then the 2024-25 adopted budget will be amended, and an increase in compensation for all eligible and returning employees will be made through a midpoint general pay increase or retention incentive stipend.
I have a motion from Mr. Gallegos. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Dr. Mills. Any other board questions or comments? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Dr. Gomez, you are up for TASB Board Policy Update 1, 2, 3.
Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board, we've been discussing the TASB Board Policy Update for several weeks now. So just some key reminders as we go through this evening. Legal policies provide the framework for key areas of district operation and are not adopted by the board. So I know that you took yours electronically on the flash drive, not in a big hard copy folder, but actually the update 123 was shorter than many of our updates. So just a reminder, those legal are simply for review. It's the local policies that the board adopts. I won't go over all 12 that are in this update because we've already had some conversations. I just want to highlight a few key ones there, including BBD local, which we discussed briefly last week because that pertains specifically to board members regarding training and operations if there was any violation that was found from the Attorney General, and how that could not be passed on to other staff members. Then, in a time where safety and security is more important than ever, definitely want to point out CKEC local on school personnel for school resource officers. Sometimes as school officials, we talk in acronyms, so we typically are referring to those as school resource officers. And this update simply clarified that districts may have more than one memorandum of understanding with agencies. Here in SAISD, we partner with both SAPD and the Sheriff's Office, and we'll continue to do so this upcoming school year to provide more coverage on our campuses. You'll see that the Sheriff's Office will actually be working with some of our elementary campuses where they had just been working with one of our secondary sites in the past, but they will work with about 4 of our elementary campuses this year, and then SAPD will cover our other campuses. And then the last local policy I want to spend some more time discussing this evening is one that we discussed in more detail last week, but we've been discussing this policy for about 2 years now. We were actually ahead on this particular area because we had already adopted both local policy for instructional resources, classroom materials, and library resources. But some key things, because this was pretty big in the last legislative update around House Bill 900. So in SAISD, we have what's called the Reading Content Selection Committee, and this committee is made up of educators at all levels, parents, and community members. So last school year, in summer and August of '23, there were a lot of things pending because clarification had not come out around House Bill 900. This update addresses that. A key area for SAISD is parents and guardians have and should always have the greatest investment in their child's education. We have a very well-detailed reconsideration process, and this policy update continues to stress the parents' involvement. What we want our community to understand is SAISD is committed to keeping children safe. We do not want children reading age or text that's not age appropriate and that's sexually explicit. We will continue to follow a very detailed process, but again, we want to stress the change in this language around parents and guardians. So those are just the main highlights in this update. Do you have any questions that I can answer?
Any board questions or comments for Dr. Gomez? I know we kind of talked about this a little bit last week, and we've looked over this.
I have a comment. Dr. Gomez, the two sheriff deputies that worked at the high school that are moving to elementary, I've spoken to them both, and they are so excited. Their comment was, we can't wait to go and protect, but mostly love on those littles. So I'm excited that that they're excited, I guess. I'm excited that they're excited, and how fortunate it is that we have these officers that not only do their job, but love our kids.
And you did say we spoke with SAPD and they're going to provide the rest of the...
Yes, sir.
How do they provide 2 or 1 per school?
It depends on the level,
All right.
the campus level, the enrollment, and the needs.
Say like the elementary schools, they get 1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they're there all day, or the majority of the day?
They try to cover the majority of the day within their other rotations, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve TASB Board Policy Update 123?
I'll make a motion. You mean it?
I got it. Administration, let's see, here we go. Make a motion to approve the board to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 123.
So I have a motion from Mr. Gallegos and a second from
I second.
Ms. Arroyo. All right. Any other board comment or question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 7-0. All right, Mr. Kalmbach. Student Code of Conduct, which is also long.
Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, members of the board. Just an update on our Student Code of Conduct. Annually, you approve the Code of Conduct, and we have it ready. You had a chance this week to look over it. And we just wanted to present a couple of the changes to it. There's not many this year. What our parents and families do need to know is that the format of it changed. So if they're used to looking at it in one format, it's not really that different, but content-wise, there's only a couple of major changes to it. So we're gonna look just quick at those. The first thing that we wanted to do, a lot of times with Code of Conduct or behavior, the document is all about what not to do. And so in the last 2 years in our district, we've had a real focus on behavior, the science of behavior, and looking at what we're expecting our kids to do and how they're to act as opposed to not. So instead of talking to them about what not to do, we're going to talk to them about what we expect of them. And so We do that in a way, and so for 2 years, we've been working on this system, and we have seen a dramatic decrease in behavior incidents in our district in the last 2 years, particularly with violent offenses, with physical harm. And so there are days when we have incidents where it doesn't feel like that, but when you look at the numbers, we've seen a dramatic decrease. So we are getting to where we want to go. We want to continue to improve in that way. So everything is focused around this statement that each student is expected to be safe, respectful, and responsible. And we wanted our student code of conduct to reflect that and what we're expecting. So they fit into these categories. And this is in the code of conduct now when it hasn't been before. So I'll just let you read those for just a second instead of reading them. But it focuses on what we are expecting our students to do and how to act. So under safe, what we want to focus on when we have students who break the code of conduct, so there's a behavior incident, is we want to focus, instead of just saying that it's bad, we want to focus on what skill is it that they're missing that led to this behavior, and work on teaching good behavior. So safe and then respectful. I think one of the points in this that is interesting and sort of countercultural right now, but important, is to demonstrate courtesy even when others do not. If we can teach that and model that for our students, that's going to be really important for our culture. That we can have dialogue and work through problems and disagreements and be courteous and kind. So, and then be responsible. So really everything in our code of conduct, the code of conduct still has all of the violations, but all of the violations are a violation of one of these three things. You're either not being safe, we're either not being respectful, or we're not being responsible. And so just a focus on being what we want. And then the only real significant change to the content of the code of conduct has to do with vapes or e-cigarettes, and so I just put that in there. The main change is that the possession of any form of an e-cigarette or a vape they're all treated the same. There was a distinction previously between what kind of vape and what's in it, and any kind of vape or an e-cigarette is prohibited. It doesn't matter what it has in it, and that came directly from Chapter 37, which is a statute that directs discipline. So the type of vape or the contents of the vape don't matter anymore. It's serious misbehavior that falls into that category that would result in the consequences. So that's the only real significant content change other than the first part. So, and that's really it as far as the summary. Any questions
on the e-cigarette and vape, or however, I don't even know how those work. Well, I know they got two different kinds. Are they both DAEP offenses, or y'all handle them on ISS?
Yes. It's a difficult question to answer, but by the code of conduct and by Chapter 37, it is a mandatory DAEP offense for that. However, there are two things that make that. You always consider intent, and you always consider discipline history with any kind of offense. So that can sometimes come into that. In terms of how we are handling it, here's the other thing is. There's a rule on the maximum capacity of the DAEP. So if the DAEP is full by the statute, then they would go into ISS while waiting on a place to go in the DAEP. So it can be tricky because if it's full, then they have to wait on a spot. The only exception that the statute made was if the DAEP is full at capacity and there's a violent offense, then the violent offense is going to go to the DAEP, and someone who was in possession of a vape would come out. We have developed our own way so that it's fair. It's whoever has served the longest of their time at the DAEP is going to come out so that a violent someone with a violent offense can go in.
Okay.
So it's been quite a topic in the state, and it's unbelievable how difficult it is to manage with just the number of vape shops and the access online that can get in. We do. I just want you all to know, and it's very important for our families to know that we are doing a lot of education about them as well. Several different programs, and we're getting print material that has information about the harmful effects of vaping in our up in our schools, and so it's not just a disciplinary approach. We have a lot of things going to educate on the danger of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think my understanding and looking through that was the fact that previously they tried to list every thing that could be in a vape, and as vapes progress, there's always a new substance that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 27, whatever the number is at the end now. Right. And so keeping up with it was difficult, but I do think it's very important that as a district, we make sure that parents are aware that differentiation does no longer exist.
That's correct.
Because that's something all parents need to be aware of before their kids. Not that there are some parents that condone other things differently than others, but they need to be aware of that going into day one.
Yes, it's an important distinction to make, because there are nicotine, and then there's all kinds of things that they put in them, and we did have a general kind of feeling that some of those were worse than the others, and now the statute has them all the same, any kind of
Michael,
vape.
say, I don't know how kids are today, but if you catch someone smoking cigarettes on campus, is it considered the same as a vape, or is it the same offense for smoking cigarettes?
Not according to Chapter 37 and the
Really?
law.
So if you're caught smoking cigarettes, is it DAEP or ISS or just?
It's not listed as a mandatory DAEP.
Okay. Guess it's safer.
Well, the kids will tell you that it's not.
Yeah.
They don't smoke cigarettes.
I know, they don't smoke cigarettes.
They'll tell you, those will kill you. Alcohol is different. Alcohol is a mandatory DAEP.
All right. Any other board comment or questions regarding the code of conduct? So this will be up on the website after
Thursday.
After Thursday. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other thing that just as a district, when we're looking at our code of conduct, there have been complaints by staff and personnel in our district before that we adopt a code of conduct, but we don't always put teeth behind it. And so I would say that we're going to adopt it, I think, as a board and as an administrative team, and I know as our principals and everyone has talked about, we're going to hold people to the code of conduct if we're going to adopt it. Any questions or comments? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to adopt the 2024-2025 Code of Conduct as presented.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mr. Gallegos. All in favor say aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right, Mr. Henry, we have RFP 24-010 video streaming rights for SASD.
San Angelo ISD began streaming football games in 2020. With our current agreement expiring, we advertised and received proposals for the right to stream Central and Lakeview High School football games for the 24-25 school year, with the option of extending for up to 4 additional one-year terms. Other sports, fine arts, or academic activities can be streamed with the approval of the athletics or the appropriate department. We received 2 proposals for the streaming rights. Interviews were conducted with both companies, and submittals were scored, and the incumbent, Concho Sports Network, received the highest score. The administration recommends approval for Concho Sports Network to be the district's video streaming provider for athletic events. Do you all have any questions over that?
Any questions from Mr. Henry? Any cost to?
No cost.
I know there previously wasn't. I was just making sure. All right. Any board questions? And we've been happy with Concho Sports.
Yes, they put out a great product.
I have. They really do good. So it's pretty neat when you can, if it's cold outside and there's a game, you don't want to go, just bring it up on that. I love it.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the video streaming rights for SASD football?
I'll make a motion to approve for Concho Sports Network to be the district's video stream provider for athletic events.
And do I have a-
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Mills and a second from Mrs. Mizell Flint. Any other board comment or question? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 7-0. All right, we're going to consider 24-00/011 radio broadcast rights for SASD athletic events. Amy's going to abstain from voting on this. Mr. Henry, do you want to present?
San Angelo ISD has had a long-standing tradition of broadcasting athletic events on the radio. Our current agreement expired at the end of the school year. We advertised a request for proposal to accept radio broadcast rights for Central and Lakeview athletic events for the 24-25 school year. We received one bid from Foster Communications. They are the incumbent and have served the district for many years. Tonight we have Mr. Rick Mantooth he's joining us as well. KWFR will be the home of the Lakeview football team, and Kixie FM will be the home for the Central football program, and will include cross-promotion and updates for each station. Other features will include sideline reports for home games, halftime interviews, in-booth broadcast promotions of other areas of interest such as academics, band, orchestra, basketball, soccer, ROTC, and many more. The administration recommends approval of the proposal submitted by Foster Communication for the 24-25 school year, with the option to extend up to 5 additional one-year terms for radio broadcast rights for SAISD athletic events.
Any board questions or comments regarding the radio broadcast rights?
Dr. Cameron, Foster Communications has been a trusted partner of the district for quite some time. They do an excellent job with the broadcast as well as support our student athletes in many other events. So with that, I'd move for approval of the proposal submitted by Foster Communications for the 2024-2025 school year with the option of extending for up to 5 additional one-year terms for radio broadcast rights for SAISD athletic events.
I second.
Motion from Mr. Dindal, a quick second from Mrs. Arroyo. All right. Any other board comment or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
6-0.
6-0, thank you. 6-0. All right. Consider 24-012 beverage vending and concession services. Mr. Henry, you're going to tell us about that? And
The purchasing,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to recuse on this.
he's going to recuse for this one.
all right. The purchasing department advertised for the installation and operation of beverage vending machines for San Angelo ISD campuses, auxiliary facilities, and sales at San Angelo ISD Stadium concession stands. The initial 5-year contract period will begin on 8/1 of '24, with the option to extend up to 5 additional one-year renewals ending on July 31st, 2034. We received one bid and one no bid. The one bid received was from Concession Supply of San Angelo. Their owner-operator, Patrick Sherman, has over 20 years of beverage industry experience. He is proposing to stock a wide selection of products listed on the recap. Vending bottle prices will be held firm at the current price of $2.25 per carbonated drink. The administration recommends approval of Concession Supply, Inc. of San Angelo to be the district's beverage vendor.
Any board questions or comments?
I just had a question. So the price is fixed at $2.25 for the entire 5-year term?
Not for the entire 5-year term, no.
Okay.
For the first year, it is fixed.
Any other board questions or comments? All right. Can I get a motion for approval of Concession Supply, Inc.?
I'll make a motion that the administration recommends the approval of Concession Supply of San Angelo to be our beverage vendor.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion from Mrs. Duncan, and a second from Mr. Dindal. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. All right. Now we consider 24-016, Vader Planning Services. And I guess, Jason, you're doing that for us too.
During our May board meeting, the school board delegated to the superintendent the authority to select an auditor to conduct an efficiency audit for a possible Vader in the November 5th, 2024 election. With this RFQ, we will select a consultant to assist in the marketing of this campaign. Specifications were created and qualifications were requested from companies who perform this type of work. One proposal was received from Ed Advantage. They have a 96% pass rate on elections that they work with. The administration recommends the approval of Ed Advantage for Vader Planning Services. Do you all have any questions over that?
Any board questions or comments? So obviously this, we still have a lot of balls in the air. We don't have our efficiency report back. That'll be at the end of the month. And we don't have our compressed tax rate or our taxable values. We have a lot of things still working, but this is in process of working as a district to make sure that if there is a way to present the public with an option that doesn't raise their taxes but would increase revenue to our M&O budget and allow for that money to be used within the district, we have things in place to do that.
Yes, and Mr. President, make a note that if the board chooses not to call a VATRE, this is void, and they would not provide services, and we would not be on the hook for the services that we're engaging them with.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other board questions or comments?
So this service would basically be to educate voters about what we're potentially proposing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
That's based on the outcome of the efficiency audit, is that correct, Dr. Moran?
So the efficiency audit will be completed, and we'll provide a report to the board on that. Technically, the efficiency audit doesn't have to be presented, well, we'll give it to you as soon as we get it, but there's a deadline of October, I think October 4th. Obviously, we're going to give it to you as soon as we get that, but that would be something that the board would have to consider once we get the efficiency audit and hear that information. And I'll tell you from experience, there really wasn't much to the ones that I've been a part of. It's just basically an external auditor looking to see if there's anything glaring that the board should be concerned about. So I don't want to build this up as something that you should really be excited about, because it's not very exciting.
We hope for not exciting. So, all right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move for approval of Ed Advantage for the value-added tax ratification election planning services for the total of $152,000.
So a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second? A second from Mrs. Duncan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. 7-0. All right. Next is consider board meeting dates and activities for the following school year. And I have a request. We talked about this a little bit in our pre-agenda. Our August 5th board meeting, we moved our meeting from August 12th to August 5th so that we could set the tax rate and make sure that we have the appropriate days to post any tax rate. The certified values of our compression are due from the state on that day. Is that correct?
Well, so we'll get our certified property values on the 25th of July, and then our maximum compressed tax rate comes to us from TEA on August 5th. And the board's going to need that information to make some decisions. So we'll be working very quickly on the 5th to turn that information around and get it to the board so you'll have that and be able to propose a tax rate to be adopted then ultimately on the 19th. And the reason that's important is because Dr. Brandon needs to publish that proposed tax rate and proposed budget. And he's got 10 days to do that. So it's really important that the week of the 5th, the board meet, consider, and then propose that. Dr. Brandon will then publish that for 10 days, and then we'll meet on the 19th. The 19th is important because you have to adopt a tax rate and a budget prior to calling a VATRE, and the 19th is the last day to do that. So there's really a lot going on in about a 2.5 week period. So I think the commitment on our part is whatever date and time the board sets, we're going to bring to you the information we have at that point in time and let you make the best decision you can.
So my personal request is that on August 5th, we post 2 meetings, one at 11:45, assuming that the TA gets it to us that morning, and one at 5:45. And if we have the data at 11:45, we'll have the meeting and set the tax rate. And if we don't have the data, I will beg for forgiveness from my wife. And I will be there at 5:45. And so it'll be good. But it'll be okay. So is everyone okay with that? If it works, if we have the data? Okay. I guess that's the only thing, Jessica. We need to make sure we get that. So 11:45 on August 5th and 5:45 on August 5th. They both have to be posted by 11:45 on Friday prior, and then we'll cancel whichever one we don't need. And I'm sorry to do that, but I don't have a solution.
We're glad to accommodate.
Any other board meeting problems or questions that, looking at this, that we need to discuss?
Next month. We'll get there next month.
Well, so we'll move forward with that. There's no action that needs to be placed on that. As far as our calendar goes, we are working on making sure that we work with goals, et cetera, and we'll get that set up as.
Right, and this is actually an action item to adopt dates and dates for the board meetings for the year. And so with the board's permission, I would ask you to consider the board meeting dates and activities for the year that have been presented, and we can make the amendment of the August 5th date to include 2 meetings, one at 11:45 a.m. and one at 5:45 p.m.
Perfect. All right, sorry, I didn't realize that took. So do I have a motion to approve the calendar for the annual board meetings and activities as revised?
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar of the annual board meeting dates and activities as revised by the board.
And do I have a second? So I have a motion from Mrs. Mizell Flint and a second from Mrs. Arroyo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right. Announcements. We have our finance and pre-agenda workshop on August 5th at either 11:45 or 5:45. And then we'll have our regular board meeting on August 19th at 5:45. Any other board comments or questions? All right. That being said, meeting is adjourned.